Hello, my little gems, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are starting something a little bit different. Welcome to Oh My Mod. I've decided that I'm going to be doing some mod spotlights, and today we are focusing on a mod that is really fun. It's probably one of my favorite mods. It's called the Little Tiles mod, and I believe it's available in most Minecraft versions. I know it's available in 1.7.10 all the way up to 1.11.2, but I'm not really sure what other versions are around. Since this mod covers so many different versions of the game, there are a lot of features that change from version to version, so today we're just going to be focusing on a few of the basic features that are available in every version so that you can just jump right into the mod. So first, let's head into our beautiful house and get some of our gear. We're probably going to need some food, so let's grab some potatoes. All right, so these are the main tools for the Little Tiles mod. The ones that I use the most are on the left-hand side, but we're also going to briefly go over the ones here on the right because they're pretty cool too. I just don't use them as frequently. But to get started, you will definitely need a little hammer. I'm not going to go over the crafting recipes for these items, but if you have any eye, they're pretty simple to look up, and I'm sure they're on the wiki as well. You're also going to want a little saw, a little wrench, and some little recipes. So just a brief description of what this mod does. It allows you to break most of the items in the game into smaller little tiles, which you can then use to make anything. Like honestly, anything you can think of or imagine, you can probably make it using this mod. I've made furniture, I've made beds, you can make doors, shelves. Honestly, like your imagination is the limit. So I'm just going to teach you guys how to use the tools so that you can have all of the fun designing your own things. Now, of course, if we're going to be breaking blocks into littler blocks, we need some blocks to break. So I've started us with a few and these should be good for everything that we're going to make today. So this mod does take a little bit of space to use. A flat area is best, so I've flattened out this little spot here, and I figured it would be perfect to work in. So the very first and probably most important tool that you will be using is the little hammer. This is the item that you will use to break the blocks into their smaller counterparts. You do this through a GUI, so you just right-click anywhere. I have noticed that if you right-click on a block, sometimes you crash. So personally, I try to right-click in the air if possible. So just right-click and it'll open up this GUI. You put the block that you want to break down into this first slot here. These numbers here indicate the dimension of the block that you are breaking down. So right now it's going to be 1 by 1 by 1, which is super tiny. It is the smallest you can go. For anyone who's played around with the DaVinci mod, this is literally half the size of their blocks because their smallest block is a 2 by 2 by 2. And honestly, this is probably the easiest size to work with, so usually that's what I'll grab out from the menu. But you can do pretty much any size you want, up to 16, which is a regular block's size. But for this demonstration, let's keep it 2 by 2 by 2. When you've finished selecting the dimensions for your new little blocks, go ahead and click Hammer It, and it will give you some blocks here. Since we did such a small choice, it gave us 64, but if we had done dimensions closer to what a slab would be, 16 by 8 by 16, and hammered it down, you would see that we only get 2. These dimensions stay put, so if you're doing a lot of different types of blocks at once, you can just put the new block up there and click hammer it, and there you go. You got the exact same dimensions. So with this, you could get slabs of virtually any block in the game, and this does work for most modded blocks as well. Let's go back to our 2 by 2 by 2 dimensions and break down a few more of these blocks because we are going to need them to build with. All right, so now what we're going to do is build just like you normally would. You'll see if I have this item selected, it tells me the item's name. So this is wool, this is hardened stained clay. It also gives you this little white shadow box, which is showing exactly where your little block will go. For today's demonstration, we're going to be doing this in creative mode, but it does work in survival as well. I just find it a lot easier to work with in creative mode personally, but that is just my preference. I guess we don't need these potatoes though. Let's clear up some room in our hotbar. All right, so we're going to start with making a chair. So I'm going to go ahead and place this block here to start on the leg of the chair. Now, as you can see, if I were to build this up block by block, it would take a little bit of time. It's not unmanageable, but it does take a little while, and for bigger projects, it can get tedious. But don't you worry, they've included a really useful tool for this problem. Meet the little saw. With this tool, you can change the dimensions of any pre-placed little tile block simply by right-clicking on it. The direction that you right-click will be the direction that the block grows, so make sure that you're clicking on the right side of the block. Also, if you hold down the Shift key and right-click, it will shrink the block instead of growing the block. So it's incredibly useful. Let's get rid of all of these other little blocks and just grow up this leg by right-clicking on the top surface. There we go. Now we got one leg done. I don't want this video to be super long, so I'm just going to middle click on this block to copy it over, and we will put it in all four corners for the legs of our chair. Now for the frame of the chair, I want it to be a little bit shorter, so we're going to shift click on the top block there to make it tinier, and then right click to just stretch it all the way across to the other leg. And I'm just going to repeat this process for the other two sides of the frame. So we've got the front frame of our chair and the legs. Now we need a little bit of a cushion because no one wants to sit on this. So I'm going to go ahead and place this wool block that we carved down. I'm going to right click on the top to make it a little bit taller than the frame. And then I'm actually going to have to get under it so that I can lift that side up a little bit. There we go. And I'm just going to expand it with the saw. There we go. Now all we need is the back of the chair. I'm going to middle click on this leg again to get it in my hotbar and just move it up to be the top of the chair. We do need a bar going across the bottom here, and this bar that we have in our hand would probably work perfectly, except for the fact that it is going straight up and down and we need it to be going horizontally. But don't worry, they've included an option for that as well. If you use your arrow keys, you can flip and rotate any object from this mod that you are holding. So if we do up and down, you'll see that it flips it. And if we do the left and right arrows, it rotates it in that direction. So now we've got it facing the right way, but oh no, it's a little bit too big. There's an overlap, so it's not going to go there. That's okay. Let's just place it here, and we will use the saw to make it a little bit smaller. Middle click it one more time, and there we go. Perfect fit. I want the back of my chair to kind of curve around, so I'm going to use these little white blocks to kind of arrange that here. There we go, that looks quite nice. However, I'm pretty sure if you were sitting on it, you would fall right through. So let's do a little back cushion on this chair as well. Now you'll notice that I'm at the point where this little saw doesn't work on this block anymore to grow it, and that is because we have reached the block height limit for that block. So see, they're lined up perfectly with the top of that grass block. There's nowhere else for that block to go because it is now in a new space. This is not an issue in 1.11.2, but it does occur a lot in 1.7. But it's fine. We're just going to middle click on this block and move it up into the new block space, and then we can go ahead and start using our saw once more. And there you go. We've got a custom-made little pink chair that we could place anywhere we wanted. Now, you'll see that we have a little bit of a dilemma here, though. I can't simply break this chair and pick it back up. If I break any part of this chair, like the seat here, it's going to just break that part of the chair, and we don't get the chair back. Of course, we are in creative, but this is an issue in survival as well. So let's just put the seat back on there. And now it's time to meet another one of our main tools. This is our little recipe block. And what this does is it's going to store the data of these blocks here in itself, and then you can use the wrench to craft it. So the way this works is you have to click on two corners of the cuboid that your item makes up. So since our chair is 2 blocks tall, we're going to have to right click on the top block as well as a piece of the bottom block to make sure we get that entire section. The cuboid corners that you're working here are equivalent to the actual cube size in the real Minecraft grid, not our little tiny micro cubes, because that would be pretty hard to calculate out. So you just right click on the top here and then again on the bottom leg, and there you go. We've got our chair in a recipe. Now there's a few different things I can do with this recipe, and you can craft them into an actual object using the little wrench. So if I right click in the air here and put my recipe up inside of it, you'll see there's this craft button. Simply click it and there you go. You have a version of your object in your inventory. Now you'll see that it says structure none and that it contains 27 tiles. So let me just show you what that means really fast. If I place this block down, notice it doesn't actually have to match the Minecraft grid. I can place it right here in the corner of 4 blocks just fine. Pretty cool. But since it doesn't have a structure assigned to it, we still have the same problem that we have with the other chair. That is that if we click on any of the blocks, or middle click on it, we're just interacting with the individual tiles of the chair, not the whole chair itself, which is a problem. However, this problem is easily solved using our little recipe. Simply right click in the air and you open yet another GUI, and this is structure types. There are quite a few here in 1.7.10, and later versions of the mod have even more that you can select, but the main types that we have available to us now are bed, door, ladder, chair, and fixed. So let's go over all of these a little bit. If we were to make this a bed and save it, we would actually be able to craft it with our wrench and put it down, and you'd actually be able to sleep on this if it was nighttime. Let me show you. So, oops, it's all dark and scary. Let's make it day and sleep on our chair. Worked a little weird because it was a chair, but the process works nonetheless. The only reason it didn't become daytime is because I have daylight cycle turned off. Another thing that you'll notice is if I middle click on this, I now get the entire structure rather than just a single part of the block. And if I left click to break any of the blocks, it's going to break the entire chair. So it's now one solid object in Minecraft instead of 27 individual little tiles. So let's look at the other structures we have available to us. There's of course a door. I'm not going to do that with the chair because it's a little silly, but we'll make an actual door in just a minute. A ladder works just as you would expect a ladder to work. Simply craft it, and now we're going to be able to climb this chair, which is perfect for reaching high places. We've all done it in our kitchen. And there we go, climbing it just like you would climb a ladder. Another cool thing that you'll notice about this mod is that I'm actually standing on the seat of the chair right now, and then since it's a ladder, I can continue climbing up the back. Even though I've made this one solid block, it still recognizes where the tiles end, meaning that these work great for stairs and shelves and that type of thing, because you can actually walk on the top of any of the blocks instead of it trying to change the hitbox to be a solid block. So we've looked at the ladder and we've looked at the bed. There are a few more for us to see, including the one that's probably the most appropriate for this object, and that is the chair. If we save that and go ahead and craft it with our wrench, we are going to be able to actually sit in this just like you would a minecart or any chairs that other mods add. Using those arrow keys again to rotate, let's get it facing this direction and place it down. And if you right click on it, you're now sitting in your chair. Pretty fun. So you could actually build little dining sets and sit in your chairs and enjoy your bread or potatoes or whatever it is you're eating that day. The final structure type that we're going to go over with our chair here is fixed. Now, fixed is perfect for when whatever you've created is not a bed, door, ladder, or chair, or any of the other structure types available. It's simply an object that you want to keep, like a statue or a table or some stairs, anything that you want to keep the little tiles together as a single item, a single block. But you don't want it to have any of the other functions, you would use fixed. So this is probably the one I use the most because I like to make a lot of little statues and things. Again, we save it and we craft it with the wrench, and you'll see that just like with our ladder and our chair, and our bed even, you can middle click this to get the whole item instead of it being the little individual blocks, and when you break it, it breaks the whole entire thing. So let's go over doors real fast because they're a pretty cool function. We're just going to make a standard 2 tall door, nothing special here. But you can get really creative with this and make some pretty cool things. We're going to have a little bit of fun with this and do some candy cane stripes on our door. There we go, that's looking pretty cute. Let's add a little handle to it as well. Right there. Perfect. So this block right now does nothing except look adorable, but we're going to go ahead and convert it over to a door. So to clear a recipe, if you only have one of these in your inventory, you shift and right click on any normal Minecraft block, and it's going to clear whatever was inside. And once again, we're going to right click on the top block and again on the bottom block to save it into our recipe. All right, into our structured GUI, let's go ahead and select that door option that we've all been waiting to see. Now, this menu is a little weird. It confused me a lot at first. Basically, this is your door from the top-down view. See, that's our doorknob. And this is the little rotate point, like what it's going to rotate from. And see, it's rotating at the side of the door handle, which we definitely don't want. So we're going to bring that down to the actual base of our door and hit save. Now it's saved the access of the door, and we're going to go ahead and put it back into our wrench and craft it one more time here, and this should function like a door. See, when you're placing it down, you're going to see that little red line, and that's signifying where it's going to rotate, which is exactly where we wanted it to. So if we place it down and right click on it, it's going to open and close like a door. But hold on, it's doing weird things now. It's rotating in various directions. This is not what we wanted. We wanted a door. Now that's because right now there's no anchor blocks on either side of it to keep it from spinning in a full circle. But that can be easily solved by putting some wood on either side of it, or any block really, and now it will just open and close in the basic two directions. So as you can see, this is a really neat mod that really inspires creativity. I've designed so many things using it. I've made unique custom kitchens with cabinet doors that open and close with like a chest hidden inside. I've made bunk beds, I've made doors, I've made all kinds of crazy things, and it's so much fun to just get creative with it. Another thing I want to show you before we get our other tools is that glowstone does work with this mod, and this is probably one of my favorite features about it. So I made it night to show this off, but it's really, really cool. So the glowstone that you put down is actually going to emit light. So even though it's just this little tiny piece of glowstone, it's actually lighting up this whole area. This can be used to make lamps and all kinds of crazy things. There's other mods with different colors of glowing blocks that you can get, and I've actually used them to make wall decals that light up, and that's a lot of fun. My textures are glitching right now, so the block is black, but that doesn't usually happen, so it's probably my texture back. All right, now that the sun is back up, let's go get those other tools, and I'm going to show them to you really fast. So what we've got here is our little chisel, which is a creative mode only tool, as well as a little color tube, which is pretty fun. And then we've got our little rubber mallet and our little container. So let's go learn about these. So the little container is pretty self-explanatory. You can put your blocks inside, and as you build, it will use the blocks from the pouch, so you don't have to have your inventory full of all these little tiny tiles. And it shows the full-sized block instead of the little-sized block, which is pretty useful. So what the rubber mallet does is it breaks any of the tiles into the smallest blocks possible. So this huge portion of the chair, let's say I wanted to cut out the center part of it, that would be pretty difficult and I'd have to rebuild this entire spot. But if we right click on it with our mallet, you'll see that now it's a ton of little 1 by 1 tiles, and then we can left click on whatever blocks it is that we want to get rid of and just get them out of the way. Now you're stuck with all of these little tiles, which is kind of annoying, but that brings another use to the wrench. If you right click on this, it's going to match them with as many blocks as it can. It combines the tiles as best as it can into the biggest blocks possible, which makes it easier to work with in the future. Next, we have little color cube, which is a lot of fun. If you right click in the air, it opens up this little GUI. These little sliders affect the colors. So now we've got a color tube with like this pinky color, and we can right click on any little tiles block and tint it a little bit to get it to that color. So even with the vanilla blocks and no other mods installed, you can get some really colorful pieces for your house that you wouldn't normally be able to get in the game. You can change the colors as much as you want and get as crazy as you want with this, and it's a lot of fun to play around with. And it does work on blocks that you've already stuck together. So this is our chair, which is one structure, can't be broken up into little blocks again, but we're still able to paint it. Speaking of the color feature, this is available from the hammer menu as well if you want to start with the color. instead of painting it later, see the sliders, the exact same sliders are right here, and you can see how it's going to tint the block. So if we put like a blue block in there, you'll see that the color we get is going to be a little different because this is pink, but it's making it purple because the block's already blue, whereas if we go white, it's going to go straight to that pink color. And then we have these pinky purple blocks. Pretty fun. And last but not least is our little chisel. Now, this is not what you would think. It's not a block to right click to, chisel away at a block. It doesn't do that. You can use this to completely change out the materials you've used in an item. So this chair is made out of wool and stained clay, but we can change that. So you select the same way you would with the recipe, which is to right click on the topmost box. But this one you shift right click on the second position, and we've now selected the entirety of that chair. If we open up the GUI, you'll see it's a little confusing at first. It's a little overwhelming. Basically, this is the block that's already there, and this is the block that you would want to replace it with. So let's say I want to replace all of the white stained clay with blue wool, and then you hit do it, and it changed 31 tiles, and you'll see that the white stained clay is all now blue wool instead of clay. You can also use this to change the entire block. If you keep any checked, we can make the entire chair out of diamond. Let's do it. Now the entire chair is made out of awkwardly painted diamond ore. It's beautiful. And that pretty much covers the basics of this mod. As you can see, it is a lot of fun and you can make a lot of really cool items with it. So don't forget to download it and check it out. I'll have the link in the description down below. And if you make anything really cool, go ahead and send me a picture on Twitter or in the comment section below, because I would love to see what you guys come up with. The sky really is the limit with this mod, and you can have so much fun with it. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the episode here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it was helpful to you. Don't forget to leave a like and a comment down below if you enjoyed this video. And if you have any other mods that you would like me to look at and check out and maybe do a spotlight of, go ahead and leave those in the comments as well, and I'll see what I can do for you guys. Feel free to check out my channel for other gaming videos, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!